distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a privilege to welcome you at the International Security Forum session one-on-one, and our guest, Secretary General of the Organization of Turkic States, Ambassador Mr. Kubanychbek Omuraliev. He is doyen diplomat. Before attended to Organization of Turkic States, he was the ambassador of Kyrgyzstan in Ankara, and before then he worked in Moscow, in Baltic countries. So he's a very experienced diplomat, and almost 5-6 months ago started to work as a Secretary General of Organization of Turkic States. We will discuss with him the role of Organization of Turkic States in regional security of Central Asia. First, he will give us his speech, and after that, maybe we can go on with answer and question. Before giving him floor, I would like to give small brief about the role of OTS for the security of international organization. Actually, the only thing, absence of serious political problem among the member states in region where, I mean Central Asia, security risks are very intense. It could be considered as the success of Organization of Turkic States, because in the region where are many sources of conflicts, such as border problems, problems arising from the water sharing, extremism, religious radicalism, and security problems of Afghanistan, etc., Turkish states have managed to prevent these problems from turning into a crisis by establishing continuous and sustainable dialogue and cooperation mechanism among themselves. And today, Organization of Turkic States become more prestigious and more prominent partner organization for the Eurasian security. So, Mr. Ambassador, floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone, distinguished participants. As moderator mentioned, first I would like to just my short speech addressed to you. So as you know, the Organization of Turkic States is an increasingly recognizing and respected international organization operating in more than 20 fields of cooperation in order to bring the Turkic world together. The goal of all our members and observer states is politically to establish a strong partnership between our countries, economically to benefit from the rich potential and the connectivity advantages of our countries, geopolitically to guarantee to the continuity of the environment of stability and the trust in our countries and in our region. As a result of the achievements we have reached so far, we are very pleased with the expansion and the strengthening of our organization. Relations between Brazil countries are getting deeper and stronger day by day. For the first time in history, Turkic states act as single entity. Their participants Despite this positive picture, we are faced with many new challenges that have emerged recently in the world and in our region. Multipolarity, which has become a more and more notable trend in the international system, is conducive to intensifying the cooperation between the great powers, competition between the great powers, decreasing predictability, deteriorating the climate of trust, and increasing the risk of conflict in our region. Today, a fierce war is taking place in Ukraine, just north of us, that deeply affected the whole of Europe and Asia. The result of this war are also very important for the Turkic world. Similarly, many problems with the potential for military conflict await in other parts of the world. We see the acute risk posed by the wide geography where our countries are located. Of course, the challenges we face are not just military conventional ones. There are other serious threats and the challenges waiting for our countries, our region, and our world. The pandemic was one of them. For 2 years, it swept the world, radically changed our lives, and left behind a huge economic burden with political consequences. Similarly, the world today faces threats and the challenges with the serious consequences such as food and the water shortages, hunger, sharp rise in energy prices, global warming, mass migration, social inequality, and the discrimination. Such threats and the challenges faced by the world and our region revealed the fact that Brazil Turkic states needed to further their cooperation and the coordination with each other. With this understanding, the Turkic World Vision 2040, which determines the basis elements of our strategic cooperation until 2040, was accepted by our head of states in historical Samarkand summit in 2021. Important decisions in the field of security cooperation are also included the vision document covering all cooperation areas and in our summit declarations. First of all, our head of states instructed that regular consultation should be held under the umbrella of OTS in order to ensure close coordination and the cooperation on political and the security issues of common interest. Our head of states also instruct us to enhance security and the military cooperation among member states by launching consultation mechanism to address security threats affecting the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of our member states. They want to establish cooperation mechanism to encourage technical cooperation between the defense industry institution of our countries and to share knowledge and the experience of military innovation, defense, and the aerospace technologies. They want to increase the visibility and the export potential of our countries' defense industries and develop joint projects in this field. And for this purpose, they encourage the participation of Turkic states in defense industry fairs in our countries and the internationality. With this will, as the OTS, we have held first meeting of the Secretary Generals of National Security Council in our countries in Ankara last year, 2022, as well as their rounds of security consultation in Baku, Nur Sultan, and Ankara, with the participation of the relevant institutions of our countries. But that time is Astana was called Nur Sultan. This is why I am using Nur Sultan. So we plan to hold second meeting of the National Security Councils in Uzbekistan this year, and the fourth security consultation in Kyrgyzstan also would like to plan this year. On the other hand, this mechanism is an important tool to increase cooperation and the coordination among our member states on regional and international security issues. Because in these meetings, regional security issues such as Afghanistan, Russia-Ukraine war, Karabakh problems, Cyprus issue, and issues such as migration, extremism, and the foreign terrorist fighters are discussed. We strongly believe that the political atmosphere we are in now necessitates us to take their steps immediately. As a matter of fact, there is a need for a strong Turkic geopolitics in the world today in order for the convergence economic and the commercial relations between Europe and Asia to continue in a stable manner, for the Eurasian geography not to become an area of competition between the great powers, and to eliminate important instability such as terrorism and immigration that many spread to the world from regional countries such as Afghanistan. The OTS fills this gap. In the world, which was gained a multipolar characteristic again in the 21st century, the strong cooperation establishing between the Turkic States has a great value in terms of peace, tranquility, and the development in the Eurasian region. As shall be recalled, there was strong and stable Turkic state that ensured trade and the social interaction in this continent during the times when Asia was the heart of the world and the cradle of civilization. The historical Silk Road was outcome of such an atmosphere. Today, Turkic states are on the stage of history with a similar mission. Strong Turkic states mean strong, stable, and the prosperous Asia and the Europe. In this context, the Trans-Caspian International Transport Corridor, we may not know like as Middle Corridor, is also increasingly becoming the safest and the shortest trade route for ensuring the supply chain between Europe and Asia. This line is one of the main axes of China's Belt Road project. The war between Russia and Ukraine has proven how strategically important the Middle Corridor is not only for our countries, but for the entire Eurasian continent. The Middle Corridor is also of increasing importance in stem Europe's sustainable energy supply. Distinguished participants, the last war in Karabakh and the victory of the Azerbaijani army showed that our region needs a strong will for stability and security. The cooperation and the coordination between Azerbaijan and Turkey during the war was a great reflection of the cultural and the historical ties between the two Turkic states in practice. We, as the OTS, exhibited the intensive diplomatic traffic from the first day to give the necessary support to the process, and they announced the strong support and the common stance of our member states to Azerbaijan, to the world, and to our peoples. It is now a reality that the Turkic states are not alone. They are stronger together. They will be not to be indifferent to each other's problems, and an important will has been formed to show a common stance. The massive mobilization of Turkic states and the people to extend their helping hand to Brazil, Turkey, after the devastating earthquake disaster this year in February, in just yet another testament to this clear fact. As you may remember, we also convened the extraordinary summit in OTS in Ankara in March, 16 March in this year, whereas our head of states discussed modalities of cooperation in similar emergency situations. Moreover, our countries closely follow the regional developments in our immediate environment that affect security and stability, and they take a common position. For example, in September 2021, we held an extraordinary meeting under the chairmanship of our foreign ministers in Istanbul to evaluate the development in Afghanistan, discussed the steps to be taken, and they issued in joint statements. Distinguished participants, we witnessed that the OTS has become the main platform for sustainable and institutional dialogue between our countries and the reliable structure on regional cooperation. Our people's institutional and the leaders believe and they trust us. OTS countries are now organizing their bilateral relations with a new perceptions based on the identity of OTS membership. This is new situation. We see that our organization brings forward the spirit of brotherhood in the bilateral relations between our countries. I believe that the advantage we have, which are our law of brotherhood, mutual trust, and the friendship between our leaders, strong ties between our people, the fast, efficient, and the result-oriented working mechanism of our organization, being away from politicization and the bureaucratizations. The strong support and the guidance of our head of states will provide a great advantage in achieving our goals. Thank you for your attention. I am sorry if you have to use my speech longer. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Actually, in your speech, you mentioned about the great power rivalry in Central Asia, and at the same time, in our Security Forum, there is a panel session, which called, Balance of Power in US, China, and Russia relation. At the same time, there is a panel on the subject Balance of Power in US, Russia, China relation. And our esteemed Minister Egemen Bağış also moderated in the morning panel on transatlantic security relations. So when we look at the global security picture, polarization and bloc policy between the United States and China getting tight and getting more visible. So Central Asia has a border with Russia and China, and US has a political and financial tools in Central Asia. And also more than 1.5 year, Taliban ruled Afghanistan, and Afghanistan another very tough neighbor for Central Asia. So, in this picture, organization of Turkic states trying to solve their own security problems. For instance, Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan solved the border problems. Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan solved the water sharing problems, and they are cooperating for the electric generating dams. And recently, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan solved the very important border energy resources problem in Caspian Sea. Almost 30 years, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan claim the same resources as their own resources, but in 2021, after the Karabakh victory of Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan signed an agreement, and they call the disputed areas as a dostluk, friendship areas, and now they are developing project for the common use of these energy resources. We can also make another example. Turkic world showed the great solidarity during the Azerbaijani fight against the liberalize their occupied territory. And at the last summit of the OTS in Samarkand, Northern Cyprus of Turkish Republic also accepted as an observer member of Organization of Turkic States. All of these political and security issues, when we look at all of these developments, how do you consider in the new world order, in the new international system, you told getting multilateral international system, what is the position of Organization of Turkic States as a new geopolitical subsystem and as a single entity? You mentioned all of this country called as a Turkic world and considered as a single entity. So in the more challenging world order, in the more competitive world order, what is the position of the Organization of Turkic States, and how world can take into consideration the security contribution of the organization as a regional security and for the global security?
Yeah, thank you very much. And as you mentioned, and I also mentioned it during my speech, and the first time in our Turkic states with Brazil countries is becoming a single entity, and the way days a day is getting better and closely is to keep for security issues. First is very important is stability and the security between our member states. And as you mentioned, is in, for example, in Central Asia, which is our 4 countries is members, which between members, for example, just you mentioned between Uzbekistan and the Kyrgyzstan border issues solved, and the others, and between Kyrgyzstan or Kazakhstan and the Uzbekistan is also no any kind of problems. So if you shortly to provide you answers, first between member states now is strong ties, where very are close, and politically wouldn't have any problems. So, of course, and this way we are strong, and this way we must be to keep this kind of strong brotherhoods. It will be, I believe it will be continuing, and this kind of we are stronger, and them, of course, for regional security issue, it will be also more secure. If you, in Central Asia, for example, you mentioned this, where some countries bordering with China, for example, Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan is bordering with Russia, and Afghanistan, with Afghanistan, Uzbekistan is bordering. Yes, and especially in Afghanistan is right now is not stable. So this way is our Uzbek brothers not alone. So we are together, and we provide politically, and more important is morally. This kind of support is more important. Of course, without economic strong relation between our members, we cannot to come together as culturally, including our language, religions, and before we geographically living together, our history. This is this fact. Everybody knows this one. Everybody recognizing. But again, to become strongly, we need to more closely economically. And if we economically strong, we'll be to keep our security too. Also, our others too, just you mentioned, between Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan in Caspian Sea issue, it was also is under dispute a long time, but now it's also solved. But same time, just I mentioned in my speech, this middle corridor, if you before considering including is not only regionally, but internationally, like alternative road, now is becoming a reality, and especially in this after war in Ukraine and between Russia and Ukraine. So this is also connection with security issue, and we believe in our member states, and trying is to best to keep this kind of security in future too.
Yes. Excellency, you mentioned about the common history, common language, and cultural ties among the member states' population. Actually, until the COVID pandemic, Organization of Turkic States, at that time called as the Turkic Council, considered more soft regional organization, mostly focused on the cultural and soft power cooperation. But after the COVID, something changed. First, online meeting among the online head of state summit held after the pandemic. And during the pandemic, new cooperation area in the health, they started to cooperation in health issues. And they show solidarity and cooperation against this global threat against human security. And after that, OTS take more political decisions, supporting the Azerbaijan in Second Karabakh War, and showing the shared vision against the Afghanistan development. So when I analyze regional and international security challenges, make the organization more strong, more resilient. Actually, resilience is the key concept of the 2040 Turkic Vision document also. When I look at the Turkic World Vision 2004 document, the first thing, sustainability for the cooperation and resilience against the regional and global security risk. So when you considering the 2040 Turkic World Vision, how do you think this vision document is achievable for the OTS, and in 2040, what kind of organization we can see, what we expect for the future of the OTS?
Yeah. Thank you. And it's just in beginning you mentioned about COVID-19 summit, which was organizing by our head of states. It was first summit. Actually, during COVID-19, it was initiated and done was in our organization during this COVID-19. Of course, in online was, but it was first. It's not only regionally, but in the worldwide was first this kind of head of states meeting, and is also in this is part of also security, because health area is more important. And regarding in Turkic World 24th Vision, how is it achievable? Is we have also, this is document was, as in my speech I mentioned, it was adopted in Istanbul Summit 2021, but in last year in summit in Samarkand, we adopted another document. Is our strategy to implementation. This Turkic vision is our strategy for 2022-2026. And this documents is more include concrete steps like in action plan with for next 5 years. So, for example, in security cooperation, one is establishing multilateral communication channels and the cooperation in migration issue for better planet response, including humanitarian assistance, education, and the health services. In health services, just I mentioned during COVID-19, and it's continuing, but migration, and especially in Central Asia, in our member states, some have this issue also on the table, and also humanitarian assistance and the others, including is our neighbors is in Afghanistan, is also is our member states is very actively working this one. For your question, how is achievable this our goals in our vision in 2040 is step by step is this in implementing.
Maybe last question. In Samarkand summit, President of Uzbekistan, as the chair of the OTS, announced 2023 as a year of Turkic civilization, and this year Turkey celebrates its 100 years of foundation of Republic, and there is another future plan and future project for the OTS. So, the base is culture, language, and history, but shared interest and mutual interest also, I think, very important factor for the cooperation. For instance, you mentioned Middle Corridor, Trans-Caspian energy projects, and this kind of projects unite Europe to Asia, and 21st century considered as the rising Asia and Asia century. In Asia century, Turkic world as a united entity play a very important role for the international security and for the regional security. So what do you think? Can we preserve ourselves from the rivalry, and we can change the risk and challenges to the opportunity? Because, you know, risk and opportunity almost at the same time. So we can achieve some risk factors to opportunity factors, and many Turkic states consider the 21st century as the golden age of the Turkic civilization. So where is the place of Turkic world? In rising Asia, or between Europe and Asia, or as its own civilization in the humanity? What's your opinion?
You already, same time you provide question and the answering, yes. Yes, we are between Europe and Asia historically, geographically, because, you know, the Great Silk Road.
Yes.
So, you know, if you look history, Great Silk Road really was connected between Europe and Asia. And at that time, you know, many centuries years ago, it was connecting two continents each other, and supporting for improving trade and the others, including cultural communication between nations. So our member states is, in my speech also I mentioned about, is between Europe and Asia, and especially this middle corridor. I not yet mentioned about another new project which is already now technical visibility is done. China, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan railroad project. It was also adopted, signed by the head of states last year in Samarkand. And I hope in the near future it will be start to implement this road. It also will be closer railroad connect Asia and Europe. Is another project, and this is also showing us how is reality and how is our member state is practical point of view is really connecting between Asia and Europe. And this kind of examples is more. You know, and from Turkmenistan is some member states and observers is reach for natural resources like gas and the others. Is also through Turkmenistan just yesterday is first time is from Turkmen gas delivering to Pakistan through Afghanistan. This is also in the showing how is, you know, is practical, is doing some achievements. And the same thing, just last December was first time rail to starting bit from Izmir is containers come to Tashkent directly. Is also. Yeah. So step by step, slowly, but we are having implementation our goals. and this is also our achievement.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Actually, OTS is very dynamic organization, and cooperation in OTS in all fields, from culture to trade, from energy to security, also very fast growing, and we hope Turkic World Vision 2040 will achieve it before than 2040, and this region become more stable and secure region where the people share wealthy and share the happiness. So thank you for your all effort. Before closing, I would like to thank Directorate of Communication under the Presidency of Republic of Turkey. Today at the opening, Professor Dr. Fahrettin Altun mentioned how Turkey contribute to the regional and international security. So thanks to this forum, we can share how to Organization of Turkic States contribute to the security of the Central Asia, security of the Caucasus, security of the greater Eurasia. So I think the most important thing for the security, shared vision. All member countries share the same vision, open and open for cooperation and open for dialogue and sustainable dialogue and sustainable cooperation in this region will be the basic of the security policy of the OTS. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you for your attendance, please.
Yeah, let me a few words before to conclusion our for regarding is Turkey 100 years is 100 years not only just anniversary, and of course this 1 century is how is Turkey is our Brazilian country was during this 100 years, especially for economically, you know, especially just 20 years is joined for group of G20 is, you know, I remember when I arrived first time to Turkey in 30 years ago, 91, and now it's a completely different. So if you're traveling to, everybody knows in Turkey, is how is road is what many road constructed is in education area or in health. In Turkey is not only becoming just for touristic destination, and now is becoming as health touristic destination too. So many of the, or if you who is in one, in, of course foreigners, 25 or 30 years, 20 years ago, I remember in Istanbul, it was too many smokes, without gas. That time is nice, is different. So this is also bring more tourists, more peoples. If you shortly is during this 100 years, is Turkey is changing completely. But of course, is Turkey staying to other member states, other brothers countries, people, as Brazilian countries and the Brazilian nation. And thank you for inviting me, and thank you very much for attention.